The exhibition is called 8 New Voices, and it opened here recently at the Rick Ferris Gallery at the Masterworks Museum of Bermuda Art. But the voices are not exactly new. The artists themselves are seniors, and they've been working under the tutelage of renowned local artist Sharon Wilson. So tell me, Sharon, what is the age bracket of these artists? And how long did it take you to bring them to this point of this exhibition?
You want to get me in trouble with this. I can't say the exact ages of them, but you understand that it is a seniors learning center, and I believe you have to be at least, I don't know if it's 55 or 60 years old before you join. Mm-hmm. I would think they're in the 60s and 70s. Which is pretty phenomenal because they're just picking up this for the first time at this age.
So what effort did it take on your part to get them to be this creative?
Well, the first question is, what did it take to get them in the door? Actually, I went to Seniors Learning Center and I gave a slide presentation one day, and I talked about the fact that you're really never too old to learn, and I talked about my work and the journey that I had traveled. And actually, many students signed up after that slide presentation. They came in trembling because, of course, nobody wants to be the dummy in the room, and if you haven't been told you had talent when you were young, there's no reason to believe you should have it at this age. So it took a lot of courage, I think, for them to walk in the door.
What was the most challenging thing to them?
I think the most challenging thing is the confidence thing. You know, I think a lot of damage was done to many of us in elementary school, and we still carry the whisper of that somewhere in the back of our minds as we go into new situations. But I only have a maximum of 6 people in a class, and that makes a big difference in terms of learning. I think the biggest thing is to take the whole person in, not to try to take one aspect of them. So I usually put on a pot of soup, right? Got to get uncomfortable.
This is
an art class.
This is a food fest.
Well, it's both, and it's all, and it's politics, and it's a whole lot of things, but it's 6, usually women. There's 6 people in that room for 3 hours once a week. And you're going to see just what they managed to do, people who didn't even know what a piece of charcoal looked like before.
Well, that's what I find interesting, because I'm looking at the head of a Buddha, and then I see portraits, self-portraits. How did you get them to be this creative at such a late stage in life?
Well, the methodology is a big part of it, the method, in which Suzuki has a specific method for teaching music. And I've developed a very specific method to allow anybody to jump in the game without having this preliminary knowledge before you could even approach it. So, and they have a very good art teacher now. Not just because I've been at it for a lot of years, but I'm actively doing it. I'm actually doing it myself. And so when I'm teaching them, they come in and they see what I've done since they were in the week before. And we stop and do show and tell, show and tell, put it up. Every 20 minutes, put it up. Let's see the development. It is a holistic approach to learning, really.
But was there some particular carrot that you used to inspire them? I mean, I see some of these self-portraits, the hands on the chin and the wisp of the hair back. I mean, that took creativity. How did you get them to that point?
Well, when you ask a question like that, I don't know how to answer you. There's no magic bullet. It is a method of teaching, the step-by-step method. We're not all going to be NASCAR racers, but we can all learn to drive a car. And I think that the biggest thing when they come in the door is understanding the difference between the myth of talent, being able to separate the concept that you have to be talented in order to learn how to do that. That's a myth. And the minute you break that myth, then they can learn how to do it.
Now, are you at liberty to reveal some of the artists is represented here?
Sure, we have Elaine Ritchie, and Elaine has quite a few portraits here at the gallery. She loves doing faces, so That's what she's about. Anna Finkbinder is behind me, and she's been very prolific. Funny, Anna house sits a lot. So she spends a lot of her days just drawing because she's not in her own house. She don't have to look around and say, I should be washing dishes now. So she house sits a lot, and so she works probably more than everybody else. We have Jocelyn Morrison, and Jocelyn's been with me for about nearly 2 years, and she has a mix of still life and portraiture, which I think she's kind of crazy about that herself. Everybody seems to want to draw the human face, especially new students. They really, really, really want to do that. Laureen Gilbert has been with me for a while, and she has a self-portrait in this exhibition. Cheryl Stafford, Nathalie Lendy, Marva Allen, and Marguerite Lovell. So we have an interesting mix. Some people have been in education, people have had all kinds of careers prior to retirement, and it's interesting to see them all come together and have them all be kindergarten people in terms of art.
Now, there you go. Now, as they came together, did they actually enjoy the art of creating art?
It's an interesting question. I think initially they were so self-conscious, fearful that they wouldn't be able to learn it, that it was more trying to stave off that anxiety until they could enjoy it. At some point they did, but part of it was to be in a room that's non-competitive. I think that's huge, to keep it congenial, to keep the atmosphere healthy. So.
Now, in your pursuits, are you thinking, say, of a second class of seniors to come in and do more work?
Well, let me explain a little bit how we work. Each course runs for about 6 to 8 weeks. What's happened with this group is that we just roll it over. So they've monopolized that spot for nearly 2 years. Because I can take so few students, before one session ends, they've signed up for the next. And that's how they've been able to have this kind of growth. You can imagine having newies come in and out. You can't learn anything in 6 weeks. It's just not possible. So they've stayed together for a while. And so, of course, now they feel like a group.
And, of course, during the course of the instruction, you gave them homework.
Oh yeah, which they may or may not do. That's completely up to them. But we're actually talking about 2 classes. I conduct 2 classes of 3 hours a week. And we have some students from both classes that make up these 8 women that we have here.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that your art class has taught them,
What's that?
which something which can all learn from, is that you're never too old to learn.
Absolutely not.
Now, you spent many years in the hospitality industry. How did you manage to come from that segment into art?
Purely by accident, really. Having retired, I thought, well, let's go up to the Senior Learning Center and see what they offer. And I picked Sharon Wilson, and I love it.
Now, the first day in the class, did you ever contemplate creating pictures like these?
No, I never thought about it. But then I said, Anna, you can do it. Just look at it and do it. And I do it.
Now that you're an artist, will you actually start selling?
Yes, actually, my pictures are in about 16 different homes. I've sold 4 of these, and of course all my family have pictures, and I sold another 2 originals day before yesterday, which is most surprising. I never thought this would ever happen.
And of course, this makes you a prolific artist.
Love it, yes.
It truly goes to show that in anything in life, you're never too old to learn. Here at the Rick Ferris Gallery in the Masterworks Museum of Bermuda Art, I'm Charles Webb.